Have you ever looked at the calendar and thought, wait, how is it already August? When you're a child, a summer vacation can feel endless. A year feels enormous. But then you grow older, and suddenly entire years seem to disappear. One moment you're celebrating New Year's Eve, and somehow you're doing it again. So what happened? Did time actually speed up? No. Your clock is still ticking at exactly the same rate. But your experience of time can change dramatically. And scientists have several ideas about why. One of the most interesting explanations has to do with something surprisingly simple: novelty. Think about your childhood, your first day at school, your first trip somewhere new, your first real friendship, your first birthday you actually remember, your first time seeing the ocean, your first experience of so many things. When you're young, the world is full of events you've never experienced before. Your brain has to pay attention. It has to process new information, and it creates lots of detailed memories. Now compare that with an ordinary week as an adult. You wake up, go to work, eat, check your phone, come home, watch something, go to sleep, then you do it again, and again, and again. The days themselves may not actually be shorter, but when you look back at them, they can feel compressed. This idea is supported by research showing that routine can make periods of time seem shorter when remembered. In experiments, people remembered routine activities as lasting less time than non-routine activities. And that gives us an important clue. Maybe time doesn't feel fast because the days are literally moving faster. Maybe it feels fast because fewer moments stand out in our memory. Think about a road you've traveled hundreds of times. You probably can't remember every turn, but imagine traveling through a completely new country for the first time. Suddenly, every street looks different. Every building is interesting. Every sound is unfamiliar. Your brain is collecting information constantly, and when you look back, that experience can feel much richer and longer. There's another interesting idea. Think about how much 1 year represents at different ages. When you're 5 years old, 1 year is roughly 1/5 of your entire life. It's a huge percentage of everything you've experienced. But when you're 50, 1 year is only 1/50th of your life. So psychologically, each new year may feel like a smaller piece of your total experience. This is often called the proportional theory of time perception. It sounds intuitive, but scientists don't consider it a complete explanation. In fact, research on age and time perception is surprisingly complicated. One study tested 233 healthy people between the ages of 15 and 89. Participants were asked to close their eyes and mentally count 2 minutes. The older group tended to stop counting earlier. People over 50 estimated the 2-minute interval as shorter on average than people under 30, so there can be measurable differences in how people estimate time. But here's the surprising part. Other large studies found that the difference in how quickly people say time passes with age can be very small. In one study involving more than 1,800 adults between 16 and 80 years old, people of all ages generally reported that time passes quickly. The age differences were much smaller than you might expect. So maybe getting older isn't the only factor. What else could make time feel faster? Routine, attention, memory, and something else that most of us experience as adults: time pressure. When you're constantly busy, your brain isn't sitting around thinking about every passing minute. You're thinking about the next appointment, the next message, the next deadline, the next thing you have to do. And suddenly, it's Friday, then December, then another year is over. Interestingly, researchers have found that people's sense of time can also depend on how they remember a period afterward. A vacation can feel like it passed incredibly quickly while you're experiencing it, but when you look back at it, it can seem long because it contains so many distinct memories. A normal week at home might feel slow while you're living through it, but surprisingly short when you look back. That's the paradox. Time can feel slow in the moment and fast in memory. And this may explain one of the strangest experiences of getting older. You don't necessarily experience less time. You may simply experience fewer memorable boundaries between moments. When every day looks different, your memory creates many landmarks. When every day looks the same, months can blend together. Monday becomes Friday. March becomes April. And suddenly, the whole year feels like one blurry memory. But there's actually a fascinating lesson hidden in all of this. If novelty helps create richer memories, then one way to make life feel less like it's flying by might be to deliberately create new experiences. Visit somewhere you've never been. Learn something you've never tried. Take a different route. Meet new people. Break your routine. Not because you can literally slow down time, but because you can give your brain more moments worth remembering. So, does time actually speed up as you get older? No, at least your clock doesn't. But your brain doesn't experience time like a clock does. It builds a story out of attention, memories, routines, emotions, and experiences. And when those experiences become repetitive, your life can feel like it's moving faster and faster. Maybe that's why childhood seems so long. Not because children had more hours in the day, but because so many of those hours were completely new. And perhaps the secret to making life feel longer isn't finding more time. It's making more of the time you already have memorable. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more fascinating questions, strange experiments, and animated explanations of the world around us.